She loved their family. She loves their grandparents but hates their family. The house has been in their family for over a century, has always felt off about it. The rooms would always felt cold and the air been off, and visitors often report feeling like they were being watched. For about a month, she and her parents were living in the house. It was during this time an event happened, then terrified them. One night, they woke for one particular reason, went to the bathroom. Suddenly, the door shut down. The door shut and locked behind them. The lock on the door was broken, so it shouldn't have been able to lock it, let alone close on its own. Then the light in the bathroom went out. They had always been interested in ghost hunting and had a ghost hunting app on their phone that used it in their past, but soon it didn't work. The app was stopped. The app was supposed to tell their user whatever the ghost was saying. As they opened the app, they felt something or someone breathing down their neck. A few seconds later, the door unlocked and the rather read one word, run. They ran and to hide under the covers until they fell asleep. The next night, they woke up again and went to the kitchen for a snack. It was there that they saw a dark figure pick something up from the pantry, run to them, and then disappear. They tore to the run. They tired. They tried to return their room, but the living room door slammed shut as they walked forward. Again, they felt something breathing down their neck. They kept pulling at their door until couldn't sleep. They kept pulling at their door until it finally opened. Back in their room, hiding under the covers, they couldn't sleep because they kept hearing footsteps on the porch. The next night, they decided to sleep in the den. Their phone was left open to the ghost hunting app. When it picked up a signal, it read Quentin, their great-grandfather's name, but it was the last activity they experienced before they moved out. My first house was built in 1914. It's just a single family. I have been living here for about 20 years. All of the weird things that my sibling and me have seen or heard in this house, this one event is my favorite. This happened to my brother about 10 years ago. My brother and his best friend had started a band playing most Spanish rock music, but in Spanish. His friend could only get together on Sundays afternoons. They would practice into the early evening, and they would usually call it because I worked the graveyard shift. This happened in the late fall, so the days were getting shorter. Season when they just finished a long session. When they decided to head to someone else's house, my brother handed his car keys to his buddy so they could load up the equipment. Everyone had filled out of the basement, but the tricky part was that they needed to walk all the way to the back of the basement, up the back stairs, through the kitchen doorway, down the hall, into the living room, and out into the front porch. Everyone was outside, sitting in my brother's truck, waiting for him. My brother was walking up in the back stairs when he remembered that he had left his pancakes into a container setting on a speaker in the basement. He made the decision to go back. So after my brother's walk back, he is about to retrieve his food. Out of the corner of his eye, he sees it. It is a shadow figure right at his peripheral vision. That feeling of uneasiness washed over my brother. He had been through that. If you are in the presence of the spirit or a ghost and you felt about vibe to say a quick prayer, my brother, he basically just told it, hey, go away. I don't have time for this. My brother started to walk to the back of the basement, closing the door up the stairs and turning off the lights. As he was walking out, the door was opened and the light from the street lamps was flooding the living room with this amber light. My brother said he felt something in his back, but at one point, did he turn around? At this point, he did turn around. As he flicked that last switch, The living room went dark, as did the rest of the house. As he stepped out, he pulled on the door, closing it behind him. Still holding his food in one hand, he joggled down the few porch steps. He walked towards the front gate, our house, far from the main street. As he closed the gate between himself and his friend truck, he kind of smiled and thought things over in his head, made at himself from speaking out when there was no reason. He climbed into the driver's side of the truck, putting on his seatbelt and getting ready to pull up of the parking spot directly in front of the house, when one of his friends asked, "Hey, wait, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" My brother answered, "What do you mean? He went to work early tonight. He's already gone. Do you see his car anywhere?" The next question they asked, "Someone who was walking behind you when you were leaving the house?" I grew up in the older home in Florida, my own room on the second floor, a room that I would end up sharing at night. We lived in this house until we moved when I was 17. I don't remember anything strange happening until I was around 15, 16. Just a normal mom asking us kids small things that none of us touched. That was probably either the man or the boy. I came home that night from the football game at my high school. It was around 1 or 11. My younger brother had a friend over and they liked to play pranks on me. When I poked my head in to say hello, I made sure I asked if they wouldn't mess with me. That night, since I had to get up early for a school game, they both agreed and wished me a good night. The way my room was set up had my TV, dresser, and a couch and a coffee table that I would use for my friends staying over or when I was reading. My bed was alcove that it used to be a small porch, so that my bed was flush with the windows that looked to the backyard. I put my bag on the couch and walked over to the bed to go to sleep. It was middle of the night when someone knocking on the wooden bed frame woke me up. I thought it was my brothers and his friend who were just going to be annoying, and ran out of my room giggling. I flipped over and yelling at them, but didn't see my brothers. There was a boy about 12 with sandy Abel's hair that hung to his chin, wearing a purple hoodie, just smiling at me like a kid who got caught doing something he shouldn't have been, and I couldn't see right through him to the rest of the room. I watched as he slowly faded away, completely terrifying, until he was gone. I slept on the couch that night after that. The next morning, I had almost talked myself off of it, thinking it was a dream or had really been the boys. I asked them the next morning, knocked on my bed, but both were sound asleep. My mom had overheard me and said she had seen that boy too. Since that night, we started to noticing more strange things, but I'm positive it wasn't the boy. There was a man that I could feel at night in my room. We were hear footsteps walking around upstairs. All of us were in the kitchen. Books were flying around from the shelves and glasses would be pulled down and break. Our dog would stand at the bottom of the stairs that led to the second floor and just growled. One of the most eager things was the smell of cigarette smoke in the downstairs hallway. No one in our family smoked. One of the last things that happened before we moved was my brother walking up to see a tall, dark figure standing over me while I was sleeping. The entire family at that point had seen or experienced something. The boy was just a kid who wanted to be known. The man was something else. None of us were said to drive away from that house for the last time.